Hey guys, Mark Holthe here, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, going live once again right here on the Express Entry Law private Facebook group, answering your questions about Express Entry. It is Thursday, April the 11th today, and we actually had our first rain. We haven't seen that around here for a while. Usually it's just been that white, soft, fluffy stuff drifting down from the skies. But we've had awesome moisture, which is exactly what we need to get our grass growing and changing from the brown that it turned to through winter and now become the lush green that we all love here in the spring, and that many of you guys all over the world enjoy year round because it never gets as cold as it does here and everything just grows lush and green. So it's a big deal for us. All right, well, I want to welcome all of you to this EE Live Q&A today, Thursday, like I said, and we are hosting it a little bit later at 3:30 p.m. today, simply because I had a prior commitment right before, and sometimes this has to bounce around a little bit. But I have now released, or soon to be released, as soon as Stephanie has it all sorted out, my my schedule for when I'm going to be doing these. And I'm also, as I hinted at the last EE Live Q&A, I'm going to be doing these EE Lives topic by topic because I cover so many areas of Express Entry. It's hard for people who need just information about a certain area to figure out how to find it. And yes, I want people to watch the whole hour-long EE Live Q&A, but some people just need to dive in, get a little bit of information, and then bounce out. And so because of that, what I've decided to do is to have themes. So one week it'll be work history, another week it'll be education history. So as we're waiting for people to join us here, I just wanted to let everybody know about that. I want to thank all of you who sent in questions via email. And once again, I've got a big stack of them here. And so we'll see how that all materializes. I also want to let you guys know that right up here, I have a new honorary logo that is going to be up here in my EE Live Q&A as long as my Calgary Flames of the National Hockey League are playing in the playoffs. This right here is going to be a part of my EE Live Q&A. So I am super excited about that. It's awesome to have them in the playoffs. They finished with the second best record in the entire NHL this year. And I am hoping that it is a sign of things to come. And maybe, just maybe, we're going to bring back the Stanley Cup. So those of you who are not following NHL hockey and you're coming to Canada, you better figure it out pretty soon because this is the sport of Canada, hockey. Now, ironically, with all of the American teams, it's been a long time since one of the Canadian teams have actually brought back Lord Stanley's Cup to Canada. But maybe this is the year, and maybe it is my Calgary Flames. All right, so what I want you guys, those who are tuning in live, just post below where you're tuning in from, and we'll wait a little bit longer for a few more people to join. Obviously, this is a new time and a new date for our EE Live Q&A, so a lot of people are getting accustomed to it. And I had to start a little bit late today because of my prior commitment. So, and you guys know what it's like when I try to post things in our group. Ultimately, what happens, and I'll show you again here. I'll share my screen with you. What you see here is that we have we're actually closing in on 121,000 here. But when people post, I can post my announcements here and tag them up here, and that's what I try to do. But generally speaking, there's my good friend Jake. When I'm going through here, you can see Afsar says, will Mark be going live today? And then you can see here people who are posting their comments in half an hour, thanks to Mauricia, who let them know. I thought it was 3 p.m. It usually is, so stick around. So Afsar, I think you're probably here, maybe Mauricia as well. And I want to give a shout out to Mauricia Carr right here, who just recently received her passport request. And she has been just awesome. So good to the Express Entry Law group. She has been a past client of mine, but she has made it through and her and her family now are just about ready to punch their ticket to Canada and their dream of making their new home right here. So thank you, Mauricia, for all of your support over the years, and I hope you'll still continue to pop in from time to time. But I am super excited for you and just wanted to give a shout out to you. All right, and so you can see because of the time changes, and Mauricia said some very, very kind comments in our feed here. But I don't see what you guys see. And half of the time, even though it's my group, when we're posting things, and Stephanie got this one out just recently, usually when people are posting here, because there's such a high number of people, I just don't see it. And I know for a fact when I do these videos, a lot of you also just don't see the posts. So when that happens, and you can see here, I'm doing the live post right now. I'm going to refresh this page and see if we can even find it. I know sometimes these videos don't even show on your feed. And so I'm trying to figure out how to do it, because some people are looking for them and they can't even find them. But if I'm scrolling through here, there it is. Great. So we are live. That's awesome. And then usually what I do is I make sure the volume is off. I click on it. And sounds like the audio is good. So I turn the audio down, and then this is the only way that I can actually see what you guys are posting. So once I've got this up here, then this is how I can scroll through and see who's posting and the comments. So I watch it as I'm doing it. So this is a multifaceted little venture that I'm doing here. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but hey, we do the very, very best we can, right? Okay, so today I have, as I indicated before, I've got a bunch of other emails that are come through. This one is still open season. For those of you who are so patiently waiting and watching the video and hoping to have your chance to get your question answered, today is the day to do it. So stick around, because I'm going to really make a special effort to answer the live listeners who come on. And I'm going to get through the email ones, but I think I need to reward the people that are live as well. And the reality is, for me, I'm in a pretty scuzzy industry full of all kinds of crooked people. And I'm not even going to get into that whole issue. Maybe I'll talk about it later. But there's just been huge, huge issues in India, Pakistan, with people selling job offers, convincing people to take admission to these goofy private schools that don't really even lead to anywhere. They steal people's money, and it's a horrible industry. So when people see me and they say, oh, it's just Mark, he's just a money-grubbing lawyer, well, I don't blame them, because they have no means of knowing whether or not I know what I'm talking about, and they don't understand how the law societies work here in Alberta and across the other provinces in Canada, where I can be disbarred and lose my opportunity to practice as a lawyer if I'm exploiting people or taking advantage. And the whole reason that I created this Express Entry live Q&A was to help people. So with that being said, I do want to dive in, but before I do that, let's see where people are tuning in from. So Siwa says, hi Mark, good to see you. Afsar, finally, he was there waiting. Welcome, Afsar. I was only up that late for this. That is awesome. And I know what time it is. It's like just about 4 a.m. So cool, Afsar. And I'm going to make sure that I get your questions answered. Rohit says, hi, Mark. Harsh says, decision made on ECS, but no passport request or landing appointment at local visa office. That's great, Harsh from Whitehorse. Hold your questions and we'll get to them in a little bit. Okay, Jdeep, awesome. Jdeep says, check your mic settings. Please, it's less audible. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I've been working on this, so I'm going to turn up my audio, and this should actually increase it. So, Jdeep, you can check with me and make sure that, check back and make sure that this is working. And I'm also going to turn up my gain a little bit here, and this should also help to make it a little bit more audible. And then this is how I roll. So when I'm, this is how it is. Eventually we'll get to things, but you guys are my beta testers, and you know that the way that I deal with things here, it's basically a one-man show when it comes to the production. Stephanie has been helping me here on the side, but let's just jump in here, and I'm going to pull it up and I'm going to listen to it myself and just make sure that my audio is good. If you want to give me a shout out, let me know if the audio is better now. That would be great. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to go back, and I've been testing this audio. So It should be working, but if it doesn't, then I rely on you guys to let me know. Okay, so let's see if I can find my live here, if it actually opens up. Let's see, moment of truth. There it is. Okay, let's listen to it. Okay, yes, this should work. Marcia says this is so much better. Isn't this awesome? Like, what a gong show. But hey, I'm going to knock it out of the park. Boom. With awesome content because the production value is so awful. All right, moving forward here. So let's see who else we've got. So we have here, okay, Jaideep says perfect. Lauren says, hey, Mark. Afsar says, congrats to the lady. You bet. Marissa is here with us too. Gurvinder, now you're more audible. Excellent. Okay, good. See, now you guys are helping me to make this even better. Okay, Hassan says, hi, Mark, where are you based? I am based in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada. So you can look that up on the map. That's where I'm broadcasting live from. All right. And Mauricia also confirms audio is much better. Okay. Those of you who are here watching live, stay tuned, and I'm going to be getting to your live questions right away. Right at this moment, I'm going to start off by covering a few of the listener questions that were sent in via email. And I also wanted to let everybody know, as always, right here, and we can even keep the Calgary Flames right there above it. All of these are sponsored by the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. And I saw today someone who actually was posting their own version of what to do step-by-step, which is fine, you know, in a text format. But this guide actually shows you how to do it. It demonstrates it. It covers each of the questions. And it's not in the step-by-step stuff and what step is next that really makes a difference. It's knowing what to put in your answers, knowing what to do for your documents to make sure they're not rejected, and making sure that you're avoiding those common pitfalls and problems that cause people to get their applications refused. That's what this is all about. So I'll get Stephanie to post a link once again in here to the Canadian Immigration Institute, where the Express Entry Do-It-Yourself Guide is offered. And you can subscribe to that and for a fraction of what you'd pay. And you know what? I would hold this guide up against almost any consultant over in your home country. So you can choose to use them, or you can pay a fraction and purchase the guide, or just hire me. Okay, so we'll leave that aside. But on the note of getting applications rejected, let's jump in to the very, very first question. This one is from Kaur. And Kaur says, thank you for being so helpful, and you are doing an amazing work by clearing everyone's doubt for Express Entry. Myself, Kaur Rupi, I have a few questions regarding resubmission of an entry profile after being refused once. For my friend's profile, which I want you to reply. Surely during EE Live Q&A live session today. Okay, so Kaur, I don't know if you were actually on here, but I am indeed answering your questions. Okay. So here's the situation. Post AOR, January 2019, his file was refused February 2019. And the reason, and this is the case, guys, incomplete documents. So traffic history certificate from Queensland was not submitted, along with his police clearance from the Federal Australia Police. His wife was the primary applicant. So understand, guys, this is how ruthless Express Entry is. It's so ruthless. So in the case of Kaur here, his friend submitted his application, did not deal with his police certificate properly, submitted his application thinking it's no big deal, and guess what happens? It gets refused. So what is the issue? Let's dive right in right now. I'm going to share my screen with you. We're going to go right in. Oh, there's all the Calgary Flames that I was trying to find the right logo. We're going to go right now to police certificates and pay close attention to this because this is really important. Police certificates, EE, IRCC. That's what I used to find it. Okay, so we click on here, and once we go to this link, it asks us, and I'm going to shrink this down just a little bit. So it says here, Find out how to get police certificates. So we'll click on this link here, and this is the site. So as I look at Carr's question here, he says that his friend had an issue with the Queensland police certificates. What? You have to get 2 for the same country? What's with that? Well, let's take a look. So if we go to Australia right here, and every one of you better be doing this, or you will face the same situation as Carr's friend. And what I don't know here is if Carr's friend's spouse, who's the principal applicant, has a comprehensive ranking system score that's high enough to actually get drawn again. So imagine if Carr's friend here actually submitted the application, got it rejected, and then when they went back into the pool, the draws, the rounds of invitations never dropped down to that level that would give them an ITA again. How devastating could that be? And that's another plug for getting someone to review and to help you with your application. But let's check out Australia and I'll show you. You have to read carefully. So Australian Police National Police Certificate, name check only, issued by the Australian Federal Police. Mandatory, okay? And then traffic history, you can see right here for residents of Queensland. So this couple obviously lived in Queensland and they failed to provide the traffic history. Why? Because that's where the DUIs and the driving while intoxicated and driving under the influences, those are all listed in the traffic history. And so they're not found in the national, but those DUIs are considered serious criminality now in Canada and can make you inadmissible. So in the case of this lovely couple here, they were screwed. They didn't do something properly, and I didn't check to see whether they were represented, whether they did it themselves, whether they did what my good friend Mauricia did and purchased a subscription to this little guide right here, right? Which would have clearly outlined for them this exact situation, because I actually cover Queensland as one of my examples for how police certificates can go sideways. So with that being said, let's continue, because that's the stage. I've just set the stage for you guys. So now the question is, I want you to clarify how the file is checked by a visa officer. Primary applicant's documents are checked first and then move to the spouse or partner's documents, or there is no specific pattern. Does this mean that his wife, who was the primary applicant, her documents were complete and appropriate, as nothing was mentioned about her documents? He's applying again now in the pool, and what precautions he should take while creating another profile as he has collected the traffic history certificate from Queensland now, of course. Is there any other additional documents required? So you can see these guys are freaking out because they see how little the mistake can be that will result in the whole application being returned. It's not being refused because you're ineligible. This is being kicked back because of a stupid police certificate that wasn't complied with exactly. So all I can say right off the bat is that every single officer adjudicates applications differently. Sometimes an officer who finds something deficient will end it right there, and they'll return it and say you don't have your Queensland state certificate, therefore your application is being returned. But that does not mean that's every possible thing that could go wrong. And so when you ask me, Carr, to look at this and let you know what potential things could go wrong, well, that's why I do my document review service. That's why people pay me to go in and forensically with them in a live Skype call, do a screen share and go through every single piece. I'm assuming, Carr, that they can't take any chances, right? Like no one can. You should never, ever be filing your own application without having someone else give it a second look. Well, someone who knows what they're doing. And I don't care who that is. If it's me, fantastic. But if it's someone else that you trust that can give it a second look, they're going to catch these things. And remember, if you're sitting at 400, let's say you're at 438, okay? And that was the lowest draw that we've had within the last of 2019. Imagine if you were drawn on 438 and this happened to you, and then your whole application just got returned. Simple, no big deal, right? It just got returned. Well, you're back in the pool. You have to wait for another round of invitations. And what if 438 never comes again? What would happen? your chance of coming to Canada, of realizing your dream, is gone. And guys, let's face it, okay? I'm not fear-mongering here. Like, I'm not just someone who's looking to make things more dramatic than they are. This is the truth. This is the reality. And if you guys don't take it seriously and just assume that whatever you read on the internet is all you need and you can leave it at that, you are going to be in for a rude awakening. And so two people can even do the same thing. One person's mistake will be caught by an officer and the others won't. One person will be going back. Well, their chance of coming to Canada will be gone and the other will get through, because not all officers are created equally. So I can't even tell you the specific pattern, but obviously they're going to go through all of the information. They're going to go through the principal applicant's documents. And usually they do go through the principal applicant first before they get to the dependent. But that doesn't mean that the officer didn't already identify something else and just didn't tell you. Okay, so be aware of that. And that's a great question. And that forms really the substance of this EE Live Q&A. That's the big bomb question. Thank you for sharing that. All right. And of course, what can I tell you, Car? Reach out to my office and let me set up a review, and we can do it proper and make sure that there's nothing missed. Okay? All right, next question's from Ali. Hello, Mark. Hope you're well. This is Ali from Pakistan. Your live sessions are really very helpful and clarify many queries. I'm very glad to see it that way. Asking this for a friend. What's with this double friend stuff? Have your friend join the group. Okay, who is currently working in Canada on an LMIA-based job, and his work permit will expire in November 2019. His employer wants to offer him a permanent job. Here are my queries. Will he need a new LMIA, provided that the previous LMIA included an end date of job offer? So with this, and I'm going to do a special session just on job offers, no, if he gets into the pool right away, he will not need to get a new LMIA. The old expired LMIA still counts towards that job offer. That's one of the 3 pillars of job offers that are accepted. And you know what? Because I'm all about teaching, I'm going to take just a quick second and just show you guys what it is. So job offer, EE, IRCC will probably take me to where I want to go. And let's see, what is arranged employment? So that's what they call it within Express Entry. All right, so let's see if they've got it laid out here. Okay, a valid job offer, here it is. Okay, so we don't really care about all this stuff. A valid job offer, yes, has to be in writing, and it not be from an embassy, and lists what you're doing and blah, blah, blah. And it applies for the federal skilled worker and the Canadian experience class. But these are the 3 situations. So it could be an employer who doesn't want you to come to work immediately, but says, I will hold a job open for this foreign national until they come to Canada. And I've shown that there's no Canadians to fill the position, but I'm going to support them in their permanent residence only. That's this one, by an employer with a new positive labor market impact assessment that approves the offer and names you in your position. Great. Or, and this is your friend, if you're currently working in Canada in a NOC 0A or B job on a work permit that was issued on an LMIA, check, we're so far so good, and you're working for the employer, you're authorized to work in Canada on the day you apply and when the visa is issued, and your current employer made you an offer to give you a full-time job for at least 1 year if you're accepted as a permanent resident. So, and then actually here we'll take one more step down. This last one, if you have a valid work permit that's exempt from an LMIA, that's the intercompany transfers, the treaty work permits that we have. But really, your friend, it's about this. And that LMIA that was originally issued, it's only valid for 6 months, but if it's expired, it doesn't matter. As long as the application is submitted before that LMIA-based work permit expires, then your friend, once it's submitted, if the work permit's expiring at the end of 2019, can actually apply for a bridging open work permit to bridge the gap until Express Entry is finalized. So there's lots of options. It's a little bit finicky. You have to be careful with the timing, but your friend should be good to go. All right. Okay. Good question. All right. Let's jump to the next one. This one is from Mohammed. And he says, hi, Mark. As I am an accompanying spouse and I completed my bachelor's in 2011 and in 2012, I have done with internship for 8 months. What about the rest of the 4 months? Do I need to disclose internship letter? If yes, then in which section do I need to upload? As in personal history section, we need to disclose every single day, month to month. If yes, then what about those rest of 4 months? And if someone skips 1 day or more, then. Okay. Muhammad, I'll be honest. I don't know exactly what you're asking here. I'm assuming that you were doing some internship. Okay, I'm not really sure what you're asking, but I'll try to give a general answer and hopefully it will encompass what you are trying to ask. If there is work history that you want to claim points for, it's listed in the work history. If there's an internship or something else, and understand if that internship is paid, then you're going to include it in your work history because it doesn't matter whether it's internship or whatever. If it's paid work and you're fulfilling a substantial number of the main duties in the work history, then it's fine. You can totally use it. But if the internship was not paid, then yeah, you can't claim work history for it. If you choose not to include that portion of work within your work history, you don't have to. You can put the start date as when you officially became a full-time employee. Or your internship concluded, or you can just leave it out and put it in your personal history and just list it as internship. You can list it however you want. It's not a big deal. It really isn't. You can have your internship as a separate work history or a separate entry in your personal history if you want, as well as your work history, which is really almost populated over into your personal history once it's completed in your profile. Okay, so that's the scoop. All right, Mohammed, good question. Okay, Gurvinder here says, hello, Mark. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing fantastic, my friend. First of all, I'd like to thank you for your precious time in handling queries from Express Entry aspirants. You're doing a great job. Thank you. I appreciate that. I applied for Express Entry and now background check has been initiated. Dun, 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 dun. Background check. I'm worried about one aspect, and that is about the job verification. Each and everything is genuine at my end, but the issue is that most of the time the calls are unanswered in our office because my boss used to unplug the telephone wire and he used to make it operational when he requires it. Other ways of communication are HR and official email IDs, HR mobile phone number, which is already mentioned on the reference letter. Would there be any issue if verification call will be unanswered? Well, obviously, if an officer is calling and they call the number that's on the letter and that goes to a dead line that says this number is no longer in service, that's a huge issue. If the phone's unplugged, I'm assuming that it's going to go to the answering machine if he has one, or voicemail. If there's no voicemail and it just rings and doesn't answer, then obviously the next thing that the officer would do is going to send an email. So an email inquiry is 100% possible. They'll check online to see if there's a presence of the business, either on a LinkedIn account or a Google presence or a website. And so in your situation, if you got an HR with the phone number that's the mobile number, they're going to call that number if that's the number you've listed for your supervisor. So I don't see or foresee any issues with this. Usually an officer, won't just try once and that's it. So, but every officer is different. Everyone's different. Okay, here's Wes. This question is from Wes. Dear Mark, first off, I want to thank you for the consultation I had with you previously. Oh, cool. I have so many consults that I don't always remember my clients when I'm screening these emails. So he says, I want to thank you for the consultation I had with you previously, which is really helpful. A few days ago, I had a chat with a group of people. Oh, I love it when you guys get together and compare your war stories, who are also applying for EE. And this question came up. I thought maybe there are also applicants out there who are also curious about it. Okay. And I didn't vet these, so I don't know what the questions are. We'll soon see what comes here. Let's see what it says. My question is regarding the 1-year continuous work experience for federal skilled worker program. If there are several paid holiday vacations not mentioned in the reference letter for the company, should we create multiple entries to exclude these paid breaks? If no, does it mean we can add the weeks and hours of these paid breaks into the requirement of 1,560 hours and 52 weeks? If you have vacation that is paid, for example, even up to a month, some people have a month holiday and you're still paid, that's still considered to be work. IRCC accepts that. So although you're not actually in the office working, that is your statutorily or otherwise, you are eligible to take time off from work. And in Canada, that's the case. Sometimes we have people with 1 week of vacation. Some of my staff have 4 weeks off a year of vacation. And so in those circumstances, when it's paid, it's not an issue. But the employment has to be continuous all the way through. No, you don't need to break it up into separate sections at all. Even in the letter, you can say with 2 weeks paid vacation or with a month paid vacation in the reference letter from the employer. But even then, it doesn't really matter. As long as it's a paid vacation, a paid time off, and your employment isn't severed, then you're fine. But it's a different story if it's unpaid. If it's an unpaid leave, then it is possible that an officer could say, I'm not going to accept that. And that time that you are actually off breaks the continuity and does not let you have that 1 year of continuous full-time work experience that is the minimum eligibility requirement for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. If you're here in Canada working under the Canadian Experience class, then that continuous stuff doesn't apply. You can have broken pieces of work that all bundled together equates to 1 year, but not under the Federal Skilled Worker Program. All right, so that is the scoop. Hopefully that answered that question. Okay, Vesha says, good day, Mr. Holthy. Actually, it's Holtley. Awesome. I love it when people misspell my name. Okay, Vesha says, up to what stage can an accompanying spouse be removed from the application and how to do the removal? This is a question that I have never gotten. So obviously you're kind of ticked at your spouse and are looking at kicking them loose. Okay, well, technically you can remove them from your application as the principal applicant at any point in time, all the way up to you land and become a permanent resident. However, the reality is if you land as a principal applicant and then your spouse is a dependent and they're planning on coming and they've already got their passport with their visa, well, that's a different story. It's going to be hard for you to stop that. The horse is basically out of the corral and it's bolting. It's running away. It's going to be hard to catch that horse and bring it back. It's going to be hard once the passport's already been issued and there's a visa in a passport to reverse it there if your spouse decides I'm getting on the plane and I'm coming. But everything up to getting your actual passport request with the visa imprinted in it, you can always stop the process, but it will halt your process too until they get it sorted out. That spouse, whether you're going to keep them or not, until they're no longer a spouse or you're legally separated and you can prove it, they will still have to get an immigration medical and a police certificate. And if they don't, that can scuttle or cause your whole application to be delayed and at worst actually refused. Good question. Okay, next one is from Mutahir. And he says, hey there, Mark, it's me, Wakas from Lahore, Pakistan. Hey, isn't it awesome when I have another good connection I have here. So it's Wakas from Lahore. You've been of great help and these sessions are no less than a savior to many of us out there. My question is, I've already got my bachelor's degree assessed by ACAS, IQAS, so IQAS, whatever you want to call it. And I've just recently finished my master's and want that to be assessed as well. Now, the question is, do I need to get my bachelor's assessed by CES, competitive education service again, or should I just get my master's assessed and use 2 separate ECA reports from 2 different ECA providers and claim my points in the comprehensive ranking system? Thank you for your time. Wakas, you can totally use another ECA agency for your master's. There's no problem at all. You can submit 2 separate ones for each educational credential. That doesn't have to be from the same place. Good question. And the last one is Sofiane. All right, Sofiane, this one's yours. I hope this email finds you well. I would like to thank Mark for his valuable time. You're very welcome. Okay, is it enough to show just one bank as proof of funds if it has the minimum required, or you have to show all the accounts, as I have 4 bank accounts with different amounts? And then 2, do I need to list only the experience claiming for points while filling the EE profile, or do I need to list all of my experience? Okay, you kind of snuck in a second one there, and so I'll address it. But let's take a look at the requirements. Let's see what the government asks us. So let's go here, EE, and I'm going to type in completeness check, which is automatically populated on my browser. And let's just go down and take a look at funds. And I'm going to search for funds. There we go, proof of funds. And here is what it says. So Sofiane, if you're following along, read along with me. The applicant should provide an official letter from one or more financial institutions, one or more, that lists all current bank and investment accounts as well as outstanding debts, such as, and many of you guys ignore this, credit card debts and loans. So it's a very simple short answer. Yes, you have an obligation to list all those bank accounts. That is what they're asking for. Even if you have enough of the funds, and actually let's go here again and let's just type it in so everybody can see, proof of funds, EE-IRCC. Let's see what comes up. So if I click on proof of funds here and I look at the right here, you'll see 12669. And if we scroll down to the bottom, February the 28th, 2019, this was last updated. So don't just assume as of January the 1st that the numbers that they have on January the 1st are going to be updated. February the 28th was when this was updated. So if you're a single applicant, $12,669 in one account, well, great, that's fine. But it still asks you, as you can see from the instructions here, that you have to enlist all current bank and investment accounts. All right, so there's the answer. Fantastic. All right, so those of you who are a little bit late joining, now is the time where you can start posting your comments. And if I shift over to my screen here and see what the last one is. Okay, so the last one that I'm seeing here, I'm actually going to refresh this page so that I get the most recent version. Dun, 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 dun. And I'm going to pause my audio. Okay, so the most recent one that I have right here is from Gaith. And Gaith says, "Hi Mark, can you explain more about the work experience under the Canadian Experience class? For example, is a Canadian seasonal, non-continuous, NOC-B work experience with various working hours acceptable under the Canadian Experience class?" Okay, well, let's take a look. Once again, I go right here, CEC, eligibility, IRCC. Let's go right here. Eligibility to apply for the Canadian Experience class. So if you go down here, you can see here what the minimum requirements are. Remember, this right here is the Canadian Experience class through Express Entry. So the minimum requirements, you have to meet the language level, which is basically a CLB level 5 if you're a skill level B, and a CLB 7 if you're a skill level A or 0, okay? And then have at least 1 year of skilled experience in Canada in the last 3 years. Well, if it's 1 year in the last 3 years, intuitively, that means you can include 3 months here and 4 months there and 5 months over here to make 12 months. I think I added that up properly. And that's totally fine. And so it doesn't matter whether it's seasonal or what it is. The work experience just needs to be full-time or an equivalent in part-time and gained while you're working in Canada legally. And we'll go down here and look at a couple other things, but skilled work means a skill level 0, managerial, professional jobs, or technical jobs, skill level B. So remember, if your seasonal work is actually at a low skill level or a skill level C or D, then that doesn't count. But it can be in one or more NOCs. So you can add multiple positions from different companies, as long as it's full-time and work that's being done while you're legally authorized to work in Canada. And of course, when you're identifying your NOC, you need to perform all the duties in the lead statement of the occupational description in the National Occupational Classification. And remember, that National Occupational Classification is the 2016 version. And this includes all essential duties and most of the main duties. I consider most to be the wording in the regulations, which is substantial. And that's right around 75%. Could be a little bit less, could be a little bit more, but that's kind of the general guideline. But this is the important part. This is where people get so confused. Self-employed and student work experience is not acceptable. So experience gained in Canada when you're self-employed doesn't work, and when you're a full-time student, such as a co-op work term, doesn't count under this program. And I will also add, while you're working in the regular scheduled breaks in the summers or during Christmas break here in Canada. So that's basically it. All right. Hopefully that answered your question. And now I see here I was talking away and I wasn't even showing you guys what I was referring to. That is so awesome. I love it when I talk away and I don't show you my screen. So we went through this. I'll just give you a quick little snapshot again. So the minimum requirements, like I said, are 1 year of skilled work experience in the last 3 years. You can use whatever you want. You can cobble it together from different employers, different occupations, but it just has to be at a skill level 0A or B. And then, like I said, 1 or more NOCs, all the activities in the lead statement of the NOC, the essential duties and the main duties. And then remember, if it was gained while you were a full-time student on a study permit, ain't going to work, or self-employed. Okay. Awesome. I love it when I forget to do that. Hopefully you guys are patient and you realize I've got a good heart. I've well-intentioned. Okay. Now I've got 5,000 new messages that have come through. Let's see if we can catch up to them. Okay. So this one is Ina, and Ina says, "Hello, Mark. After the AOR, in case me or my husband changes jobs, do we need to update this in the system? Thanks." No, you do not. Everything is locked in when you file your EAPR. Once it hits the completeness check, it's locked in. You don't have any obligation to change it. Although I would recommend that you do maintain a current address. That is one thing that you do need to update. But if you've traveled, if there's work history that's changed, the only time I would consider updating them if you have a job change is if when you submitted your EAPR, you listed your employment as your current employment. Because what that means is then as long as your application is going forward, it's accumulating more time towards work history. And if you don't update it, they'll think you're still working for that same employer. And then maybe they check a reference and they go and call the employer and they say, "Oh, she doesn't work here." And then they say, "Well, what do you mean?" Then it can cause a little bit of confusion. All right. So that's the only time that I would do that. Okay. Aryan with a teary eye crying. Okay. There's the emoji. Aryan says, "Do you see the CRS dropping to 447? I am going to be optimistic, my friend. And I'm going to say, yes, I do. And why? Because I never dreamed it was going to drop to 438 in the first place. And it did. And so anything's possible. And 447 is still pretty high. Okay, Afsar says, "I got my passport request today. Woo! I was stuck in comprehensive security screening, and I thought it will take like a year or 18 months after receiving the AOR. But somehow, after I had consultation with you, I believe my file processing got expedited." Well, of course, they must have heard you talk to me, and that caused your application to go faster, right? No, but it was still a wonderful coincidence. We'll call it one of those serendipitous moments. You turned out to be my lucky charm, or maybe you were an undercover IRCC agent who was taking care of my file. Oh, well, because the Law Society prevents me from stating anything that's untrue and representing that I'm something I'm not, I can assure you I'm not an undercover IRCC agent, but that is hilarious, my friend. Okay. Anyways, jokes aside, I want to know, let's say I send my passport for stamping, and after receiving, get married before landing and want to add my wife. So for this, can I have you as my rep, or I can't add a representative at this stage? Also, if you can also comment on your legal fees, thanks. Okay, so Afsar, whenever I do spouses yes, you can add me as a representative at any point within the application process. We just complete a use of rep, and when we do the case-specific inquiry, then I include that, and then you appoint me as your representative to help you. And that's usually what I do with my clients. In terms of fees, it really depends on the complexity of the situation. Because every situation is a little bit different, it's hard for me to quote flat fees like I do with everything else. But I can tell you that generally speaking, after I understand the situation, I can usually give you a pretty close ballpark figure for how much it will cost. But this stuff right here is super, super important. And it takes a lot of work. And you can pretty much guarantee, AFSAR, that if you are trying to add a spouse after you've got your passport request, well, your passport's going to need to be sent back if you haven't already sent it to them. So if you got your passport and you sent it to them and they put the visa in and then you're waiting to land, they would actually cancel that visa and then have you send back your passport. And then they actually give a whole kit for proving the genuineness of the spousal relationship. And I am going to do one of my future EE Live Q&As specifically on the non-accompanying spouse. And we're going to talk about it, and it's going to form the basis of the theme for one of these EE Live Q&As. I've already decided the date that it's going to be scheduled on, and I can't remember if, let's see if I can find it. Well, I'll show you guys. You guys are on here. This is my, let me share my screen with you again. See if I can find the right screen this time, right there. Okay, this is my little template. And so non-accompanying is going to be on May the 10th. Non-accompanying spouses, that is, I believe, a Friday. Oh, I should have changed that. I believe it's a Friday. And so that on that day, I'm going to cover this whole issue of non-accompanying spouses in more depth, and people that have questions, I'm going to address that in more details. But even in these EE Live Q&As, there's only so much that I can do to try to make sure that everything is going properly. And in those cases, you're right. Booking a consultation and having me work one-to-one with you is obviously better than just running with it on your own. So happy to connect with you, and I look forward to helping you realize your full dream, if it is, in fact, getting married. And we can talk about the challenges of deciding to do it before you land and including them late in the game, or getting married after and then sponsoring them. We can talk about all those things, and we will do that in the upcoming EE Live Q&A on May the 10th. All right, next on my list here is Rohit, and Rohit says, "Hi Mark, I've been seeing a lot of review required rejection for FD term deposits as proof of funds. I have submitted an FD as proof of funds as well. However, the bank letter doesn't explicitly mention that it can be liquidated on demand, which it can be. I've heard that the bank letter must specifically mention that. Is this mandatory? Also, my fixed deposit matures in July. I submitted my application in March." Rohit, this is a perfect example of where there is tremendous discretion with officers, and they can choose to do what they want. And I can guarantee for every person that's had their application rejected because of a fixed term deposit that isn't readily liquidated, I can probably find for every one that's had a refuse, there's probably 5 others that didn't have an issue. So this is where you have to be so careful, because ultimately I err on the side of caution always. But even if you go back and I share my screen with you right here, and I click on proof of funds, let's see here, I think it's this one, an investment account. Well, an investment account, that's exactly what it is, right? An investment account is a fixed deposit. So they contemplate it clearly, and there's always more going on than just I have a fixed deposit and I haven't clearly stated the funds are liquid, and so therefore it's going to result in a refusal. And this is where immigration becomes a very legal and technical area, because if an officer for me made a decision that I did not think was right in law, then I challenge the officer. I point out their own internal policy directives that I have. I emphasize the fact that nowhere does it state that you can't use an investment account just because it says or doesn't say that it's liquid funds. Like, intuitively, that would be a huge logical leap. And I have the ability to challenge that. And if I needed to take it to federal court where only a lawyer can take it, then I would do that. And other people would just accept it and say, oh, darn, it got refused. That must be the law. Well, it's not. Okay. So although I can't speak specifically to all of the details of the, this issue you're talking about, I can tell you that too many people just roll over and accept the answer and don't try to do anything about it. All right. Gaith says here, thank you so much. You're very welcome. And Thota says, what's the next draw expected score? Okay. Give me a second here. I have no clue. I don't know when what the rounds of invitations is going to be. Nobody knows except the officers who are crunching the numbers on the operations side. They're the only guys that know, and gals, what is actually going to be the round of invitation. Okay, but I will look into my crystal ball here. Let's see, do I have a crystal ball? Oh, I'm going to look into my crystal ball, and I'm going to just hang this up here. And yeah, hopefully I don't think they know I'm doing an EE Live Q&A. Maybe I've got a client that wants to talk to me. Anyway, so as I look into my crystal ball, which is actually my light here. Let's see if I can show it. Oh, I don't know if I can. Oh, here we go. Okay, here's my crystal ball right there. I'm looking into it. Here we go. What is it going to be? It's going to be 447. Okay, I'm going with that. 447. Let's see how much of a prognosticator of prognosticators I am. 447. All right, guys. I am just about, and Thota says waiting at 450. Well, this is the one, but don't hold me to it. I'm not guaranteeing. Okay. All right. Afsar says, thank you for the answer. If I can have a follow-up on my question. If I send my passport and get visa stamped without knowing IRCC that I'm about to get married in 3 months, and after the stamping decide to land before marriage, so will it be a misrepresentation? You absolutely must disclose any spouse, whether you're ultimately deciding to include them, because the moment you get married, even before you land, that spouse needs to be medically examined, have police certificates, and have the security screening done before you land. If you get married and then land, it is horrible. Section 117(9)D of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Regulations will forever bar you from sponsoring that spouse under the family class. And so understand that it's a huge, huge deal. And, if you actually go through the process and land and become a permanent resident before you get married, then no big deal. But anything before you land, oh boy, you need to deal with it. Okay. Okay, Rohit, I actually am going to wrap things up, my friend. So I'll have to save your other question for next time. I'm closing in on the end here. Actually, let's see, we're at 52. Stephanie ends at 4:30. Just give me a second here. You can go, Stephanie. Okay, I was just telling Stephanie that she can go home, and I'll go a little over into overtime here. Okay, Rohit, just post your question again, okay? Because I can't scroll up and find it. It's too hard. All right, Olive says, hi, Mark. Hi, Olive. Maybe you just joined. All right, if you got a question, Olive, now's the time to ask. I was looking here. I've got about 7 minutes more to answer your questions. All right. Okay. And then Afsar says, thanks. Pretty soon I will book a consult. Okay. While we're doing this, I just have to show you guys. Check this out. Okay. I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. And I'm going to go to one of my favorite sites, which is tsn.ca. Although Sportsnet is where I really watch it. Some of you will see up in the top corner here, Calgary Flames right here. Oh yeah, there they are. The Calgary Flames is my team. So right today, right here, this is the game that I'm going to be watching. I am super stoked. Calgary Flames right here, finishing first in the Pacific, first in the whole Western Conference. I don't think I don't know how to put my phone on mute. The reception's trying to call me. Give me a second. Hello? Yes. Stephanie just left, and I am actually doing a live Q&A right now. But you're on live with me, so yes. Um, Lethbridge, well, as far as the Spanish translator, we usually use Giovanni translators in Calgary, but Lethbridge Immigrant Services may also be able to help. Okay, yeah, bye. This is me, you guys. This is me. This is what I deal with. You guys think all that I do maybe is just sit here, but I've got a bunch of things going on, including a daily work obligation here at the firm as an immigration lawyer. So anyway, so Flames and Colorado, this is the game tonight. I am so stoked. Calgary finished second best in the whole NHL, and this game is going to be tonight. Nothing showing just yet because the game's starting at, I think, 8 p.m. tonight. Yes, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Go Flames. All right. Okay, jumping back here. Back on track. I had a little commercial break, we'll call it there. That was entertaining. And you got to hear me listening to the receptionist too. That must have been kind of fun. Oh my goodness. Some days is just hilarious. Okay, let's see what we got piled up here for a couple more questions. Okay. Oh, these are all piling through here. I must have missed these. Okay. So Olive, is taking IELTS from the Philippines really necessary? Olive, it's essential. Either the IELTS or CELPIP, wherever you can write it. Those tests are 100% mandatory. And in fact, you have to meet at least an 8 in listening and a 7 in reading, writing, and speaking. And if you don't have that and you have no other connection to Canada, yeah, it's going to be really hard for you to qualify. Good question, Olive. Okay, Thota says, I have your DIY guide. It's awesome following that. Thanks, Thota. That's cool. And you know what? You guys don't even understand. You don't even appreciate how awesome this guide is. And I can tell you that Easter's coming up, and I'm going to have a massive Easter sale on the course. But for those of you who are wondering, well, what is this all about? I want to show you right here, and this is what Thota is talking about. This is my step-by-step guide to doing it yourself, but it's not some written explanation. You can see the curriculum right here if you go to the CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com. It will take you right here. You can see if I blow this up big so that you guys can see what I'm posting here. Everything from Module 1 is all about learning the basics. What is it? So people who know nothing about Express Entry, this guide will take them. Heck, it will take my 13-year-old daughter, and she could follow it and figure out how to do Express Entry and avoid all the pitfalls that everybody else makes. What it is, how the comprehensive ranking system works, preparing to submit your Express Entry profile. Many people say, well, is it even worth me going forward? And I just had a consult with someone today where I said, no, it's not worth it because your score is too low. And unless something changes, you don't have a prayer. So don't waste your time. Don't waste your time getting a language test. Don't waste your time getting an educational credential assessment. And I've saved the person $500 Canadian that could be used to consider immigrating somewhere else. So preparing to submit it, top 5 things to do before you submit it, registering for your MyCIC account. Are you eligible? And then diving right into the profile. And every single section is here. And I've separated them out so that principal applicants, if you have no dependents, then why do you care about watching a long video about how to include a spouse? Like, what a waste of time. So these are short little segments, really snippety, to help you get right through, right fast, and make sure that you're not missing anything. And so the spouse is a separate section, and all the way through to submitting your profile. Some of you may still want to register with the job bank, and so I left that video in. Understanding how your profile works, updating your profile after you've already submitted it, and then getting your invitation to apply. Now, you're probably thinking, hey, that's great, Mark. Wonderful. But I already have my ITA. Why would this help me? Well, bam, here's why. Because I've got a whole module 4 all about completing the EAPR, advising you about all the things that you didn't realize or missed in your profile, which then gives you an opportunity to correct them in this section. covers off everything just like before, all the sections individually, spouses, and sections for dependent children. And just to show you, I'll scroll down here quick. I even have a section here. Let's see if I can find it. Non-accompanying spouses. This is in my member resource section, how to complete the EAPR forms for a non-accompanying spouse. So that's a separate section that I created, but not everybody cares about it. And it's a rarer situation. So I don't include it in the basic category. I recently had someone request their money back, which I'm positive was some stupid consultant. But anyways, they said, oh, there's nothing new here other than it's on the website. Well, that is garbage. There's a ton of stuff if you actually sat and looked at it. But anyways, so the dependents, overview of the APR forms, and then a whole section, module 5, devoted to documents. Your checklist as a principal applicant, the checklist for spouses and dependents, submitting it, uploading your documents, what happens when you get your passport request. So, and then a whole section, my member resource section on all of my absolute best content. It's all here. And so those of you who are watching this, I'm actually going to let you in on a little secret here because I'm a nice, kind person. If you who are watching this, and don't share it with anyone else because I only want to share it with the people that are actually sticking around and watching these videos. If you click on Enroll in Course, choose One-Time Purchase Lifetime Access. So it'll open it up. Then you'll see it's $497 US. But for you, if you click on Add Coupon and then type in, let's see it. Now I'm trying to remember it. EEDIY 50%, I think, and click Apply, it drops it by half, 50% off. Okay. Now I'm going to launch a big promotion here in Easter to the rest of the world who don't watch these videos. But you guys can consider yourself getting a sneak peek at this, and it's going to be open until the end of Easter. But at this stage, this is for you guys right now. You can take advantage of it right this moment. All right. Okay. Let's get back to some more questions. One advantage I have at the end of the day, give me 1 second. I check my calendar because I'm into overtime here. Usually I don't go over an hour. Let's see here. Okay, I'm good. Okay, so let's dive in and let's answer some more questions here. Okay, let's see. You guys are still posting. Wow, I'm trying to find the section where it ended off here. Okay, here we go. So Thoda says, yeah, I have your DIY guide. It's awesome following that. And also, if you guys want to go and you're wondering what the guide is about, if you go to my YouTube channel, which is and those of you who are actually watching it, go to my YouTube channel. I'll open it up right here. Oh, I got to sign in. Seriously? Okay, I got to type in. I had to clear my cache the other day, and now none of my none of my quick links are there. So I guess I'll have to go to it like I'm a new person. So in here, guys, if you're wondering what the guide is about, I've got a series right here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people that have all provided testimonials on the course. So you can just click and watch and see what other people have to say about it. If you need the social proof and you don't want to believe me that it's totally awesome. All right, moving on. And oh, seriously, I didn't share my screen again. Oh. This is driving me crazy. I can't believe I'm doing this. I am so stupid. Did I even show you guys the whole thing? Probably not. Oh man, what a waste. Okay, go to CanadianImmigrationInstitute.com. Trust me, it's really awesome. Oh my goodness. And if you're looking for testimonials and the whole social proofing, you can go here to my Canadian Immigration Institute if you're not already watching it here, and you can scroll down and you will see right here that there are about 8 different ones here of people that have purchased the guide and used it to help themselves get their express entry all on their own with a little help from me. Oh my goodness, that is so funny. Oh, I'm so stupid. I've got so much going on here. I'm so distracted. All right. But hey, if you can't laugh at yourself, then what's the point of even trying, right? All right. Okay. So let's go back to the questions again. And I'll start back here. Okay. So next one is Amel says, "Hi, Mark. Can you please explain the difference between eligibility review required or eligibility under review? Thank you." Well, basically, the eligibility assessment is where they go through your documents and specifically look to see if you meet the minimum entry criteria for either the federal skilled worker program if you're outside of Canada, or if you are sorry, my mind just drew a blank. Or whether or not you meet the minimum comprehensive ranking system score that you said you had, whether you can prove it when you got your invitation to apply. So that's what the actual review is that review of eligibility. Now it says here the difference between eligibility review required, that is a heightened kind of review. So think of it this way. For program integrity purposes, immigration will sometimes just randomly choose someone to do a little bit more investigation on. So it'll be sent back to maybe look at their documents a little bit more closely, or maybe it needs to be escalated to a local visa office where you live to look and confirm that your employer really does exist. So sometimes those are random. Often they're reviewed. It says review required because they have to escalate it to another officer to look at that. Eligibility under review basically means that they're in the process of assessing your application. So that's basically the difference. All right, good question. Okay. Ina says, "Hi, Mark. After passport request, how much time do they give you to move to Canada? Is it based on the date of medical expiration?" Yes, it is. That's traditionally the date that they choose. They have the ability to extend that date. They have the ability to do whatever they want. But generally speaking, that's the date when you're the 1 year after your medicals were completed. Okay, Rohit says, "I had a question about 1 year continuous work experience. Is it necessary that it has to be with one employer? The website says it can be 1 year continuous with multiple employers too. I think this is okay as long as the knock for multiple jobs is the same. Can you please clarify?" 100% Rohit, that's exactly correct. So if we go here and we go to eligibility, FSWP, and we pull it up, this is right where you were looking at. You will see here that they have a number of different options for proving your work history. So at least 1 year of continuous work, and I'm going to share my screen this time instead of talking without doing it because I keep forgetting. At least 1 year of continuous work or 1,560 hours, which is a minimum of 30 hours a week, and you can meet this in these different ways. Full-time at one job. That's the traditional way, right? You've worked at one job. And remember, it always has to be in the same knock. So it can't be a different knock. Not like Express Entry. Not like the Canadian Experience class where you can have different knocks. This, for your first year, remember, the first year for eligibility has to all be in one knock continuously with the same employer, with the one knock continuously in at least 30 hours per week, or 2 years part-time, at least 15 hours a week. Now you can see here, equal amount in part-time. So maybe you're working for 2 different employers at the same time, 15 hours each in each employer. That 15 hours, actually, sorry, I jumped the gun. Equal amount in part-time means you work for the same employer 15 hours a week for 24 months. Full-time at more than one job is what I was talking about. Collectively, between the two of them, you work 30 hours a week for at least 12 months. So it's one job with multiple employers. All right, there you go. Good question. All right, let's jump back here. Let's see what else we got coming down the pipe. Okay, so the next one here, if I can locate it, is Afsar says, "Will you still help me if I say I'm an Oilers fan?" Nope, I won't, Afsar. Unfortunately, if you're an Oilers fan, I'm not going to be able to represent you. Unless you can really sweet talk me that you like the Flames too. Okay. Ardana says, what is the GTS Global Talent Stream that has just been introduced by the Canadian government? The Global Talent Stream has not just been introduced by the government. It's actually been out there for a while. And it's just a way for employers to be able to fast track applications for certain occupations, whether it's IT or some specialized or senior or executive level. It's a way that the government helps to facilitate bringing in those workers faster when employers have shown there's an actual measurable shortage of that position in Canada. And so the goal is to make it easy for talented people in industries where employers are looking for them, don't have to wait months and months and months on end to get someone in. And there's a variety of different things, but that actually goes outside of express entry. But we do those all the time for our employer clients. And so that's basically what it is. All right. Okay. Sunday says, can I get a visa to Canada to study English and further my other studies? Sure. You can apply if you want to. There's nothing stopping you from doing that. You have to meet the eligibility requirements and prove that you're actually going to go back home in order to get that study permit. But yep, you can. Okay. Mel says, hi, Mark. Can you please explain? I already did it. Vidi says, hi, Mark. I have a bachelor's degree in computer science from India and a master's degree from the US. Do I need to do ECAs of both degrees for express entry? 100%. I do it because usually master's degrees from the US are going to equate as a master's degree, but not all master's degrees from India are going to equate to an actual master's degree. But I never take a chance. So at the end of the day, I will actually get them both assessed just to make sure that I've got that backup. Because if sometimes a master's is not equated to a master's level and it's dropped down to a bachelor's, well, then you're only going to be assessed at a bachelor's level if you didn't already have the other bachelor's degree assessed. So in those circumstances, then you would be able to, if you don't get a master's, at least to get the credit for 2 or more credentials, one of which at 3 years or more of education. Okay, Ren says, hello, Mark. I'm from the Philippines. Hi, Renz. Once I receive an ITA and submitted all of the requirements, how long can I stay to my country? Okay, don't quite understand that question, Renz. You can stay as long as you want. If you submit you've got 2 months to submit your EAPR, and once that's submitted, your application's processed. And if you get your passport request, you give your passport, then they issue you your visa stamped in your passport with your confirmation of permanent residence. And that visa usually expires, as we just saw, 1 year from the anniversary, 1 year from the date that your medical was completed. All right, Amel says, thank you. You're very welcome. And people are multiple posting their comments here, which is not helpful. Okay, so Rohit says, so multiple employers has to be simultaneous, cannot be one after the other in succession, totaling 1 year. Yes, that's exactly correct. I had to think about that for a minute, Rohit. That's exactly correct. Yes, they have to be simultaneous. Otherwise, it's not considered to be 1 year continuous. Okay, Abane says, hey, Mark, not related. I got a post-grad work permit in 2017 from Edmonton, Nate, but left the Alberta right after due to health reasons. Now I'm back a month ago and have 1 year and 1 month left on my post-grad. Can still go for AINP with 6 months work experience in a related study field. Yeah, I don't see any issues with that. You just have to make sure that you get that nomination quick. And I'll be honest, Abane, I just had a consult with a client today who's on an International Experience Canada. Yes, I do a ton of consults, guys, as well as this. We talked about that. So I recommend, Abane, that you've got no room. You've got very, very little room to actually make this work. You're running out of time. So I recommend that you just book a consult so we can go through everything and make sure that you're on the right track. Because more important than anything else, I think, when you are looking to get some advice from a lawyer, it's before you start the process, so that you can make sure that what you're doing is actually going to take you to where you want to go. Because far too many times people come to the lawyer at the very, very end. And what's the issue? Well, usually they've done something that's caused an application to be refused, or they're running out of time and options and they don't know what to do. Well, usually by the time they come to me, it's too late and there is nothing that they can do. So I'll give you a little bit of advice on that one. Okay. Ardana says, thanks for answering. Does GTS adds up to CRS? Just read it in the news that it's going to help boost the score for EE. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's work experience, right? So that's really what it comes down to, and you get credit for that work experience. When it comes to Express Entry and how GTS interfaces with Express Entry, I'll do a separate podcast on that, because yes, there are some changes, and yes, there are some things that are going to affect individuals that are applying, but I will cover that in a future one. All right, because it kind of takes away and pushes us in a different direction, because I actually don't talk about P&Ps here either, because they're all so different. All right, Obidinima. I love trying to pronounce people's names. Obidinima. Yeah, that's right. Obidinima probably. Says, hi, Mark. Hi. Vidi says, thanks, Mark. Zainab says, hi, Mark. I don't have any work experience. Do you think I'm eligible for Express Entry? Nope, you're not. Renz says, got it. Thank you, Mark. You're very welcome, Renz. Afsar says, thanks for your answer. Rohit says, but how can one work full-time simultaneously at two jobs? It seems confusing. You're not working full-time simultaneously at two jobs. You're working part-time at each position, 15 hours a week. But I would like to say that when I was doing my articles for law, completing my my law degree and my qualifications to be called to the bar, there were weeks where I worked 80 hours a week. So it is possible at 40 hours. But in your case, no, it's part-time. Can you talk about some of the P&Ps? No, I don't do that, Maha. Atul says, hey, Mark, my EE file under CEC class, and I completed 10 months after AOR. Any idea why it's taking so long? Not a clue, my friend. Those things typically for us to investigate and take a look, I usually do a consult. And then Aradana says, thanks, Mark. All right, guys, we are going to end right there. A fantastic EE Live Q&A. We ran into overtime, 1 hour and just about 17 minutes of greatness. Once again, I want to let you guys know right here, as if I haven't already told it 100 times, this is made possible by the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step Guide to Doing It Yourself. So that guide that I have right here, that I showed you the magical way to get $248.50 US off of lifetime access, it never runs out. That right here, this guide is the one that is the bomb. And if you have questions and you think, boy, I just need a little bit of help, maybe I don't yet need a consult from Mark, but I still want the reassurance that I'm doing it the right way, this is where you go. You subscribe and you got access to all of this content. And like I said, everything, it's like a video game walkthrough. I don't know if you guys have ever played those role-playing games, and this is the way I kind of liken it, where you've got this really cool game that you have to solve the mystery by going through, I don't know exactly what it's called, these games. It's been so long since I played video games, I just don't have time. But I used to love to play them, where you'd have to solve different areas to advance to the next stage. And so you'd be fumbling around, looking under rocks and, and climbing trees to try to find the clues to let you save the princess or whatever the end was. I think it was called King's Quest or something like that. I used to love that game. We're talking a long time ago. Anyways, those games, those adventure games, sometimes you'd get someone who was really smart and they got through it really fast, or maybe it took them 40 hours to do it. And this is the best way I can explain. So they went through the whole process and then they wrote a walkthrough, a step-by-step walkthrough. Take 4 steps forward, turn left, lift up the rock, get the piece of paper underneath it, all these different things, and grab the bucket over there under the tree because you'll need it later to lower the bucket down in the well, 4 scenes in advance. Well, guys, that's exactly what this is. It is literally a walkthrough, and it's designed to help you guys get through it so you don't have to spend 1,000 hours reading everything. And Mauricia, she is awesome. She devoured my content, but she then shared the knowledge that she had with the people in our group. And our group is awesome. But even if you go to my Canadian Immigration Institute and watch all of the videos that I've posted, there's bits and pieces all over the place. You could spend hours and hours and hours, especially if every video is an hour long, trying to find the information you're looking for. Well, I created the guide to put everything together, and I even have some juicy nuggets in there, tips and strategies that I don't have in other places, all designed to help you guys make it through safely so that you don't result in what happened with Car right at the very beginning. My first question that I answered, where they didn't include their police clearances the way they should have, their certificates from Australia, and it resulted in their application getting returned. So you don't want that to happen. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. It was awesome having you with me. Go Flames go right here. We are getting ready for puck drop in 3 hours from now. I am super excited. Playoffs are here. I'm going to have to be wearing my face paint and everything in the next video. But I'm hoping come next Tuesday, the Calgary Flames are well on their way to advancing to the next level in the playoffs. All right, guys. Canadian immigration lawyer right here, Mark Holthe, ex-immigration officer and former high school teacher, signing off with a scratchy throat. Wishing you all the best as you navigate this crazy world that we call express entry. Take care.